All right, guys, we are live. Welcome back to the Upper Hand Fantasy Podcast. This is Faraz Siddiqui here with Zach Rizzuto. Both of us just got finished eating a big ass meal. If you guys don't know, we're recording these podcasts at night now, like late at night, so that literally just for you guys. Like it's not for us because my wife, Zach's girlfriend,
Oh yeah.
they're not the happiest, that we made this decision, right? Because this is usually sexy time. This is what time it is. It's sexy time, okay? Usually, and now we're gonna be recording podcasts instead. Okay, this is the most nerdy shit ever. Okay, look what we're replacing sex with fantasy football podcast. Okay, so this is we're making decisions here for you guys. Okay, don't get it twisted. Okay,
Right.
me and Zach we were just talking about our post workout meals. Well, I had a workout, and Zach had a high protein workout, a high protein meal with no workout. But
Yeah.
but you got to get the gain somehow, right, Zach?
It's called a recovery day. You got to
Recover day.
supplement on the days, even when you don't work out. Take it easy. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we are men of the people here for us. I would say. We're going to be doing these podcasts at night.
100%, man. And I texted Zach the other night, and I was after we did the podcast, and I was like, Zach, man, I don't know, man. This is gonna be interesting. We'll see how it goes. So far
Yeah.
we're dedicated. It's funny how I say it like that. So far we're dedicated.
Yes.
That doesn't. It's not a ringing endorsement right there. But
This is day 2, and this isn't even as far as we're going. This is like our second
right.
episode this week. We're going to 6 episodes a week. This is going to be insane.
Everybody listening is just like, oh boy, these boys are not gonna last. Not gonna last at
Now we
all.
have to.
All right. Now we have to. We have no choice. All right. Let's get into the news, Zach. All right. Travis Kelce, obviously, that's the biggest news, right? Hyperextended knee, most likely out on Thursday night. He can be back in week 2. By the way, he is questionable for the game. He hasn't been ruled out or anything. They did mention some swelling. His brother, Jason, mentioned some swelling in his knee that could potentially go down. He could play. Most likely, though, I would give it a 75% chance that he's not going to play in week 1. Too much risk there, right? Just keep him out.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes will probably still sling it with whatever he has left, and he'll get it done. He'll likely be back in week 2, and then if he's not back in week 2, most definitely week 3. Okay.
Right.
If we're really going to break this situation down, Zach, we will get there. Why don't I go through the news a little bit, because we want to break down this game. This game is the highest scoring game on the slate, for the entire
Yeah.
weekend, but for week
Right.
1. So we really want to get in depth into this game. So we'll do that here in a second. Okay. But Joe Burrow, he's practicing in full. He said that he's going to be good to go. Terry McLaurin is practicing as of Wednesday, so there's no word on whether. Well, I want to check. Was he limited today, Zach? Did you see that? I'm gonna
I
check it
think
right
he was
now.
limited. I think that's what I
Let's
saw.
see.
I
Um,
even
he was
like
he was
let's
definitely
say
at practice.
yeah, I know he's at practice. I'd say he's definitely
Yep,
limited. He was limited. It would
yep,
be hard
he
not to
was.
be limited if it was turf toe. I wouldn't expect that type of turnaround and him to just be full participant in practice. But they said, I think the wording was like he was responding well to, the work that he was given, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. But yeah. So
yeah, they're
good news coming
optimistic.
out of camp. Yeah.
It is good
Not
news
camp.
for him for
Practice.
sure. They're optimistic that he could play, even if he does play. Usually we see a dip in performance with turf toe for at least 2 to 3 weeks. But as long as he doesn't have any setbacks, which sometimes turf toe you can have setbacks. Okay, just keep that in mind if you drafted McLaurin, or if you have Jahan Dotson. This is a situation where I think Dotson does get a little bit of a bump, especially in week 1. The matchup is
Right.
oh so juicy. Okay, against the Cardinals this week. So Jahan Dotson is somebody that I'm probably going to have in my lineup as like a low end wide receiver 3 with upside.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, you talk about the matchup. It's not only the fact that, the Cardinals are probably going to be very bad, but also just the individual matchup. There's nobody to be scared of in the Cardinals secondary. You look at who they have. Jahan Dotson, too. I know you posted about this a couple weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks ago? Yeah. The night of the Ravens game where Sam Howell just couldn't stop targeting Jahan Dotson when Terry McLaurin went out. So even if Terry McLaurin plays, right, there's a chance that he could be limited. Sam Howell's still going to be looking for Jahan Dotson anyway. I think every week it's going to be one of those situations where it could be Jahan Dotson or Terry McLaurin getting the targets even when both of them are healthy. So I think you look at Jahan Dotson. I like him as a start more than Terry McLaurin this week. I think just because Terry McLaurin might be limited. I'm with you on that one. I would venture, yeah, I think the upside would carry him into wide receiver 2. I was going to say high wide receiver 2, but I'm not sure I want to go there
Do
because
you mean
this
high wide
game.
receiver 3? You mean?
No, you said high wide receiver 3 with upside,
No,
correct?
did I say that? I don't think I said that. I said, did I say low, high end? I meant fringe wide receiver 3. So like he would be. Did I say high wide receiver 3? Let me see where I have him in my rankings.
Yeah,
I
I
forgot where
thought
I
you
put
said
him.
high wide receiver 3. That might have been like me mishearing
So
you, but
I had him up there, and then it looks like Terry's gonna play. So I did bump him down just a little bit. Actually, you know what? I have Dotson at Dotson. I have Dotson at wide receiver 28, and I have McLaurin at wide receiver 26 on the week. So I am playing McLaurin over Dotson. He is the number one there, but I think it's going to be pretty close. And I wouldn't be surprised if Dotson outscores McLaurin this week at all,
right.
because this is a good matchup all around.
It's a good
Okay.
matchup. I don't think you can really go wrong if you have either of these guys. If you have both of them, chances are you don't. You probably don't draft 2 wide receivers from the same team. But if you do, you can go and start whoever you want. I think both of them are going to be fine. I don't think either of them are going to be a guy that puts up like 6 points this week just by virtue of the matchup being that good. So you don't have to worry about it. I personally lean Dotson. It sounds like you lean McLaurin. I lean Dotson.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, because with Dotson, it's like there's no worries there, right? It's like
Yeah,
he's good to go. He wants all the targets, and we saw the we saw Howell do it, man. We saw 5 straight targets, to Dotson when McLaurin went out the game. So he wants to get him the ball. There's no doubt about that. Now we're gonna get
right.
to the Seahawks matchups here in a second, but I did want to mention that JSN, they said that he's playing this week.
Mm-hmm.
Not something that we thought would happen. We thought he might be out a couple weeks to start the year. They said that he was not going to go on the pup right a couple weeks ago, and now he's ready. He was back in the practice field, like very soon after. I think it was like only 10 days after surgery, and now he's back in practice, and he is set to play week 1.
Yeah,
Crazy,
that's crazy. What youth can do, right? I wasn't
right?
expecting this type of turnaround at all. I thought that he was going to miss a couple weeks even. I think I saw a report somewhere that said like 2 or 3 weeks out was the expectation. He could come back a little bit earlier. But for him to be starting week 1, that's awesome. And that's all just good news for Geno Smith. I think JSN playing just raises Geno Smith's ceiling that much more. It doesn't
Yeah,
do so much for JSN. Like, I think he's on the same level as the other 2 wide receivers right now as far as what they can do on a weekly basis. It could be JSN one week. It could be DK Metcalf another week. It could be Tyler Lockett another week. But I think having that full complement of weapons right off the bat for Geno Smith, I mean, I think he's inside the top 10 for quarterback plays this week because you look at the Rams, who do they have on defense that's scaring you outside of Aaron Donald? They got rid of Jalen Ramsey, and Aaron Donald doesn't play cornerback. So I think Geno Smith's going to pick him apart. And that's all good for the receivers, but Geno Smith especially because he's going to be able to pick whoever he wants to throw to, and he's going to just distribute the ball. It's not going to matter if DK Metcalf's covered, go to JSN. If JSN's covered, go to Tyler Lockett. He's going to have all of his weapons. Geno Smith is like a screaming start for me.
yeah. I think Geno Smith is going to go off this week. So you have Akello Weatherspoon, Darion Kendrick, Kobe Durant.
Yeah.
Those are the starting corners for the Rams, okay, against this wide receiver trio. Like, are you kidding me? It's going to be bad. Tyler
Yeah.
Lockett, he's a beast against zone coverage. He's still a beast against zone coverage, and the Rams play zone at the highest rate in the league. I'm expecting him to have a big game. All these wide receivers can do their thing. Obviously, even JSN could do his thing in week 1, coming off the injury. I don't think they would let him play if he wasn't ready to play, right? Risk him getting
Right.
worse.
It's a
But
long
Geno
season.
Smith, man, Geno Smith's going to go off this week. If you drafted him late, like I just did in
I
the
know.
13th round, whatever it
You were
was, so
screaming about
happy.
that one. You were
Ooh,
very happy
I
about
was
that.
happy because if it wasn't Geno, I would have had to like go all the way down, just like Sam Howell or something, right? But
But this is the Sam Howell podcast, pretty much. So, like, would you have
pretty
been that
much.
upset? Really?
That's true.
I don't
That's
think
true.
so.
That's true. But I think Geno Smith's going to get off to a hot start here, man. I really do.
Yeah.
Now, I did want to. There were a couple of other injuries I wanted to hit on. For the Panthers, a couple of wide receivers. Adam Thielen was limited in practice today with an ankle injury. Limited on a Wednesday. I'm not too worried about that. Hopefully, it's not too serious. But DJ Shark did not practice, so that's something to monitor. Right now, the only
Yeah.
wide receiver practicing in full for them is Jonathan Mingo. And Terrace Marshall also limited with that back injury. So something to keep in mind. It seems like the wide receiver to play this week is Thielen, and we'll talk about that in a second because I do like his matchup.
Yeah.
Actually, why don't I just talk about it right now? We're going all over the
Go
place
for it.
in this
Yeah.
podcast, guys.
Just
Next
spitballing
week,
here.
guys, like we're gonna really get into a rhythm. Okay, we're starting on Sunday night. We're recording Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night. Okay. And those podcasts will be out Monday morning, Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, Thursday and Friday morning for you guys. And each of those episodes, they're going to be the same episode every single week on that particular day. Okay. So you're going to get the same stuff. You'll kind of get into a rhythm with us. The reason why we didn't do 5 days this week is really because like you guys kind of know who you're starting for the most part, right? It's really the
Yeah.
fringe guys that you have a lot of questions about. A lot of the questions that I've gotten were about fringe guys, right? And we're gonna get into a spot where now matchups matter more. In week one, do matchups really matter that much? I don't
No.
think so. You're gonna play your guys. Also, understanding what these defenses did last year, it matters if you really look deep. But if you just look at
Yeah.
the surface level and see like, oh, this team was really good against the run, like you can't really do that from year to year. Okay. So we're gonna start getting some data and we're really gonna be looking into that. And also, even after week 7, week 8, and when we have some data, matchups play a factor, but there are other things that matter more than matchup. And I
Right.
think I would argue that matchup is important, but not nearly as important as all those other factors. And we'll get into all that stuff as the season goes on, so you guys will understand what we're talking about there. Okay. But just real quick, just going back to Adam Thielen. I had some notes on him. So he's limited with the ankle injury, right? Adam Thielen, practiced on a limited basis, but I'm hoping that he's fine this week. He's going up against Mike Hughes out of the slot, okay, in Atlanta. I like that. He gave up a ton of fantasy points last year per route run against him. Atlanta played zone at a high rate last year. We'll see what they do this year because they did change their they did change their defensive coordinator. But Thielen out of the slot, it would make sense for Thielen to just be the primary target for Bryce Young, just like he was in this last preseason game, right? I mentioned DJ Shark still not practicing, so there's a good chance that Thielen gets a high target share in this game and comes through. I did see that you drafted your boy Adam Thielen in the draft that we just had, so he's always that
Yeah.
nice little depth option that you can add later on, if you need it.
It wasn't in the most ideal circumstances I added him. I talked about the draft. I had a great draft to start. The first 4 rounds were impeccable, but that's usually how it goes in the first 4 rounds, and then it all fell apart. And Adam Thielen, I think that's the receiver I'm most confident in, which is a problem because I think I took him in the 9th round. You don't want your 9th round receiver to be the guy you're most confident in outside the top 2. And just to add a little salt to the wound, I realized that my top 4 wide receivers in that draft have a bye in week 7. So I'm going to be screwed in that week. I don't know what I'm going to do because I'm not going to have any pass catchers. But
Hey
it's
man,
fine.
like at least you expect it. At least you're
Yeah,
gonna take the L.
that's
You know what I'm
that's the
saying?
week I'm going to lose. Like
Just
just
prepare for
pencil it
the
in.
L.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
prepare for the L right now.
yeah.
Um,
But Adam
I got
Thielen,
Calvin Ridley in that draft though, in the 6th
you got him.
round. Um, and
No. You got Calvin Ridley. No,
I'm sorry, Jerry Judy. What am I
I was
talking
going
about?
to say no. Calvin Ridley was. I think it was your
I took
second
Calvin
round
Ridley
pick.
super early, a late
Yeah,
2nd round, because all
right.
my guys were taken before that. But Jerry
Mhm.
Judy in the 6th round. A couple picks after I took Jonathan Taylor in the 5th round. I threw Jonathan Taylor on IR. Then picked up a player. But I think
Yeah.
JT in the 5th is reasonable. Um, and I think Jerry Judy, and the reason why I mentioned Jerry Judy, the reason why I bring it up is because he practiced today in a limited fashion, which was kind of surprising.
Mhm.
And I did see that report right before I hit the draft button because I was a little bit worried about that hamstring injury. Now, these injuries are tricky. I think it's still a risk even in the 6th round, to be honest with you. But the upside is there with Judy if he
Yeah.
can stay healthy. So there is a possibility that he plays this week. I hope he does not play this week, to be honest with you, because you don't want that thing to get re-aggravated. He did have a sleeve on his leg. So you kind of want to take that a little bit slow to make sure that he's 100% when he's back. But him being in, if you drafted Judy, you probably got him at a discount over the last several days, over the last week or so. If you did, this is good news for him. Just hope that they don't rush him back.
Right, 100%. And I wasn't expecting him to come back either. I also don't want him to play, because speaking of hamstring injuries, you want to talk about re-aggravations. Cooper Kupp also, that's big news right there. We're going all over the place with this podcast. How do we get from Adam Thielen and Jerry Jeudy to Cooper Kupp? Anyway, let's go back to Adam Thielen, right? Quickly. And then we'll hit Cooper Kupp. So Adam Thielen, I've said it the whole offseason. He's a veteran presence. Bryce Young's going to rely on him. If DJ Chark isn't playing, Jonathan Mingo, he's good. He's talented, but I don't know if he's going to be the target leader with Adam Thielen there in Carolina. It's a pretty good matchup, like you said, against Atlanta. This is one of the lowest scoring projection games, which makes sense because you have Desmond Ridder and Bryce Young at quarterback. But I think we could see some more scoring than what they're projecting. I forget what the spread, not the spread, the over-under is on this for points. It is...
I'm pretty sure it's like really low, like 41.
It's 39 and a half. Very, very low. I just kind of feel like that's low. I mean, look at the first. I look at the Falcons. They have plenty of playmakers. And then you look at the Panthers. I think they can get it done on offense. I don't think Bryce Young's just going to be a dud. I think that feels a little bit low. I think we could see more points than we think in this game. So I think Adam Thielen, if I had to guess, if Bryce Young's throwing a touchdown on anybody, it's going to be Thielen. So I like Thielen's floor this week. But then
I am choosing the Falcons. I'm taking the spread 3.5. They're playing at home. I just feel like the Falcons are going to destroy them. I really do.
That's interesting.
That would be my pick because I just think that the Panthers just don't have that much on offense. The defense is okay, not great. The Falcons' offensive line is just going to mangle them. They have some playmakers there. I just think that it's just not going to be a good matchup for them. Now, if these wide receivers are healthy, Chark and Thielen and these guys, then I think it becomes a little bit closer. But if this is in Carolina, maybe I could see it, but I don't know. I kind of
if that's the case, say that scenario plays out, could it be negative game script for the Panthers? Suddenly, Bryce Young throwing a bunch of passes.
So
that's where I think Adam Thielen, the volume's going to be there regardless of how this game goes.
It's funny. I have a Superflex league where I have to choose between Bryce Young and Desmond Ridder as my QB2. So it's a really, really shitty situation. If you guys haven't figured that out already. So good luck to me making that decision. I have Desmond Ridder in right now.
That's what I would go with. I mean, I just look at the tools on offense.
That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah,
I think that's
default.
The way to go. Anyway.
And he actually didn't look bad in the preseason. He just had that one pick that was a tip. So it's like,
his accuracy is just. I'm a little scared. All
he's
right,
played 4 games in his career.
It's true. Yeah. All right.
Anyway,
are there any other? So Cooper Kupp happened today.
Yes.
Right. We that's an important thing to talk about that I didn't have in my notes because it happened later. And I tend to forget things. Cooper Kupp, man, you drafted if you drafted him early, this kind of sucks, right? Because you probably drafted him at the 102, 13, 14. You drafted him pretty early as a top half of the first round, right? If you drafted him in the last week, you probably got a better deal where you got him in the second, maybe, right? A little bit easier to bear there. He's going to miss week 1 for sure. There's a chance he goes on IR, okay, which means he'll miss even more games. This is not a good situation. He's 30 years old. The hamstring injuries, this is not good. I'm hoping that he can come back. Now, if you have him, just look at it this way. You got him in the second round. You paired him with a really good wide receiver, a running back. If he does end up coming back, you have a potential league-winning trio, depending on who you took in the third round, right? So you took Calvin Ridley in the third. Now you have Calvin Ridley, Cooper Kupp, and whoever you took in the first. You have Jahmyr Gibbs, Cooper Kupp, and whoever you took in the first. So this could work out, but you're gonna have to make some moves. It doesn't mean that it's over for you. You got to make some moves. You got to figure things out. Don't think your season's over. Okay. This is a situation where you want to do whatever you can to put your team in position so that when Cooper Cup does come back, you absolutely kill it. All right, that's what you got to do. All right, last year, this is not the same, but I had Keenan Allen out of the lineup for the first 8 or 9 weeks of the season.
It's
Okay,
close.
I was scratching and clawing. Okay, and then he came back to be the overall what was it, wide receiver 3
He
on
was
the
the
year,
overall
whatever it
wide
was.
receiver 3 points per game the last, I think it was 7 or 8 weeks, which was just
Basically, the rest of
ridiculous.
the rest of the way, right? So I put myself
Yeah.
in position, made the wild card, and I won the championship. Okay, so and that was with Keenan Allen. So okay, flex. So Cooper Cup can do the same thing for you, even at a better, because Cooper Cup is his definition is a league winning wide receiver, right? So
Yep.
put yourself in position for that to happen. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm sorry, what I wanted to say from that was like now that with all that being said, Zach, you know, is this offense going to take enough of a hit where you're not interested in anybody, or are you willing to start a couple guys on this offense?
Van Jefferson and Tyler Higbee. Tyler Higbee is my guy because Cooper Cup is out. We talked about this plenty over the past week. Ever since it's been on the radar that Cooper Cup could miss time, it's been okay. Look at Tyler Higbee now because he had 100 targets last year, and that was with Cooper Cup on the field for most of the year. I'm just going to say on Cooper Cup right now, you say he's 30 years old. Yes, he's 30 years old. He's had technically three injuries since he's come off the field. He had it was a high ankle sprain, I think it was.
Yep.
When he came off the field. Then he had the hamstring injury, and now the re-aggravation. All in under a year at 30
And
years old.
He ended up having the tightrope surgery too after the high ankle sprain too. So
Right.
so that's something to note too, and also the hamstring injury after that. This is something. This is a trend that a lot of players have seen with after that surgery.
Right. Is that not a little bit concerning? Like, is there a chance that Cooper Cup comes back and isn't, he might not. I'm not saying he's going to be bad, but is there a chance he comes back and he isn't the receiver that we know and love? I think that
I don't think so.
Really,
I don't think so. Yeah, I would push back hard on that. If he's playing, he's going to be a top 3 receiver,
the
top 4
target volume will
receiver
be there. Yeah,
at the very least, because he's still in the same scheme. At 30, receivers don't, fall off like that. And I don't think if he's not hurt, I think he's going to be that dude. It's just a matter of him coming back. So.
Yeah. If he's playing through it, it could be an issue.
Especially receivers tend to have a little bit of a longer career. They're not taking as much punishment, etc. They just they can make it till 32, 33 sometimes. So I'm not overly worried here. If I could, if the person in your league with Cooper Cup ends up losing their first 3 games and Cooper Cup's still not back, I'll probably make an offer that they can't refuse. Just because it's kind of like a league winning move. Is it risky? Hell yeah, it's risky for sure. It could be a league losing move too, depending on who you give up. But sometimes you risk it for the biscuit, depending on what that move is, depending how desperate they get. Because sometimes people just don't want to deal with players and they ended up, moving on, So but I think Tyler Higbee, good call on him. He had the 3rd highest target share, only behind Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews last year. So, that's something to note. I think when you look beyond this team, a lot of people might be starting Cam Akers. Sure, that's fine. Whatever. You were going to, start him or not start him anyway. Puka Nacua is somebody that, a deep player that you want to potentially, look at, 14-team leagues. He's somebody that's on the waiver wire. You might want to pick him up. Okay. Because he's somebody that I really like a lot at the Senior Bowl. He would probably be in the starting lineup. I said this when he was drafted by the Rams.
Yeah.
I said the day after he was drafted by the Rams, I said, he is going to be on the field in 3 wide receiver sets. And now it might have taken a Cooper Cup injury for that to happen, but it looks like it's going to happen. I still don't believe that Tutu Atwell was going to play more than Puka Nacua, even if Cooper Cup was playing. Okay, I really don't believe that.
No.
I really
Tutu
don't.
Atwell.
Okay.
Yeah, he's been in the league a little bit, and he's a one-trick pony. He's not he's not what Puka Nacua can be for this offense. But
Yeah,
yeah,
so like I just think that but they drafted him so high too, right? It's like I didn't really understand that. Anyway, but like the thing is, I like Puka. He's somebody you should pay attention to. Van Jefferson, I look at him as like a low end wide receiver 3. He's never been somebody to command a high target share, even when the main guys miss. We have a good sample size of that, so I'm not really overly, uh, trying to get him in my lineup or anything like that. Trying to pick him up. If I have guys that I know I'm going to start this week, like I'm not overly doing it for Van Jefferson. Okay,
yeah.
Higbee I can understand. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
high rep
So
participation, high target share, all that. I think Higbee is going to check all the boxes.
So yeah, like you said with Cooper Cup, where do you draw the line? Like you said, if somebody who has Cooper Cup gets desperate and you want to make an offer for them, say you have Cooper Cup, where do you
Okay,
draw the line where you think, okay, maybe I need to move him? If
yeah.
you
If
go 0-2, 0-3,
I'm in the
0-4,
same in the same scenario. If I'm 0-3, I'm making a move, especially if I think that he's not going to come back for another like week or two.
yeah,
I
that's where
don't
you draw the
I
line.
can't afford to go like 0-4. You
Yeah,
know what I
like
mean?
if you can go 1-2, assuming he's out that long, if you can go one and
Yeah,
two, like there's no
and
reason
he's
to cut your
if
losses. Just
and if I know he's
leave him.
back, if I know he's back in week 4, I'm not doing anything. I'm going to keep him. I'm going to play him, and then go from there. If I'm 3-0, and then the guy with Cooper Cup is 0-3, like I'm trying to get Cooper Cup.
Yeah,
You know, that's
if
just
he
how I
gets
play.
put on, yeah, if he gets put on IR, are you making an offer pretty much today? Like, okay, obviously it wouldn't be today, but like if he goes on
No,
IR
no,
tomorrow, are you making
I'm
an
not.
offer?
No, I'm not because I think there's a lot of blind optimism before week 1. You know,
Yeah,
and I don't. I'll make an offer, but it'll be a pretty low ball type of offer, and I think those offers won't get accepted today.
right.
I would assume
I
not.
wouldn't take a low ball offer on Cooper Cup either, 100%. And
Exactly.
I actually have that in
But
my notes here.
if
I
you're
said,
desperate, then you might. But that desperation doesn't come until you have a few losses on the board.
yep, like he's a hold right now if you draft him. You don't
Hmm.
have to worry about moving him. You could target him if you're in a good spot, but it's still only week 1. You're going to know
Yeah.
more about your situation in a couple weeks.
And
But
sometimes the guys gonna look at their roster and they're 0-3, and then you give them like a wide receiver, a low end wide receiver 2. You give them like a Drake London, and then you
yep,
give him like a, I don't know. Let's say a Cam Akers, right? Let's say by then he's like a solid running back 2 or something. You throw
yep,
that over, you're like, hey, this is gonna help you right here because they're actually missing an RB2 also, and they're like, man,
yep.
this is kind of nice right now. You know, you never know. You never know. Right now, that sounds like a ridiculously low ball offer, but in 3 weeks,
It
when
might
someone's
not.
desperate,
Yeah.
it might not. Anyway, all right, let's move on. Was there any other injuries that I needed to talk about? I think that was
That
pretty
was what
much
I had.
it.
Yeah. There
Okay.
wasn't a whole
Okay,
lot.
good. All right, let's move on to. I want to talk about this game, man. Let's talk about this game. Chiefs Lions on Thursday night as the opener. Okay. The Fantasy Life Game Hub is showing a 52.5 total on this game, the highest of the week to kick things off. What are you looking at in this game, man? Like, are you looking at? First, I want to know how you think this game is going to roll in terms of like the game flow. Chiefs go up, stays even most of the time. Let's assume Travis Kelsey is out.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. Is Travis Kelsey
Yeah,
playing or not? If Travis Kelsey isn't playing, like I'm not gonna bet against Patrick Mahomes. He's gotten it done plenty of times with less than average weapons. I don't want to call his weapons less than average, but we know Kadarius Toney. I don't know if he's gonna be 100% coming in this game. That kind of worries me. Sky Moore, he's gonna be coming out of the slot, but is he gonna be able to carry the Chiefs' offense? I don't know. So for me, I think this is actually gonna be maybe a lower scoring game than we expect. Obviously, the total's there; it's way up high. But if the Chiefs are firing on like 75%, 80%, that's enough for the Lions to keep things on the ground, and it won't be a runaway shootout type game. The Lions are built to run the ball and control the clock, where the Chiefs just throw it, throw it, throw it. That's the way it's been. So I think if you look at this game without Travis Kelsey, that's a huge bonus for the Lions, and that can let play into their hand a little bit. They can take control of the clock, run the clock down a little bit. I think we're looking at a competitive game, but I'm not so sure it's going to have as many fireworks as another game on the schedule, which we're going to be talking about here soon in a minute. So this is maybe my second favorite game, in terms of what I expect in terms of fantasy to come out of it. But obviously, this is going to be a good game regardless. If I had to pick somebody to perform the highest performer in this game out of both teams, dare I say Jahmyr Gibbs? It might be a little bold.
Oh my goodness.
But look at it this way. Who on the Chiefs? I mean, obviously, I'm going to exclude quarterbacks from this because Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. But if you want to talk about running backs and wide receivers, highest scoring player in this game, could it be Jahmyr Gibbs? I don't think that's out of the question.
It's probably going to be Amon-Ra, but yeah, I could totally see Jahmyr Gibbs.
Amon-Ra's an easy answer. You know what I mean? Like
the way they've been, but it's the right answer.
Okay, but the way they've been talking about Jahmyr Gibbs, and this is the problem with having these discussions in week one, where it's like we haven't seen anything. It's all speculation.
Dan Campbell was just talking about not seeing the full version of Jahmyr Gibbs in week one, but I still think he's going to do good. But is he going to be the number one scorer? What are the odds that I should give you for Jahmyr Gibbs being the number one scorer?
The odds, as in,
is plus odds, right? Like plus, it like plus 100.
It's going to be with plus odds.
I'm going to say Amon-Ra maybe at like minus 100. Like he's like the favorite here.
Yeah.
Like is that kind of okay? I think that makes sense then. Okay, so yeah, I'll take plus. If you're gonna give me plus odds that Jahmyr Gibbs is the highest scoring running back here, sure.
Highest scoring player. Flex player, not necessarily quarterback. Flex would be quarterback. Not flex would be running back, wide receiver, tight end. Yeah.
Now, I want to talk about like all of these players here, and I think it's interesting because if you're talking about Travis Kelce not playing, now how does it play out for the Chiefs now, right? I think the Chiefs wide receiver to consider is Sky Moore, right? It's pretty clear he's going to be the wide receiver on the field. Kadarius Toney has been the Chiefs wide receiver that they've been touting, right, during this offseason, potentially being the wide receiver one. I was like kind of in on it. I was like, okay, this is I can see it. I wasn't drafting him a whole lot in best ball either, but he just can't stay healthy, man. Like the word is that he'll be on a snap count in this game. Okay, but 23% targets per route run last year, according to Fantasy Life data profiles. Okay, that has to keep you somewhat interested. Okay, but he's not going to be full-time in this game. So if I'm choosing between him and Sky Moore, it's going to be Sky Moore for this week. Okay, he'll be on the field way more. He could see near a full route participation, depending, if he stays on the field for some 2 wide receiver sets, which we did see a little bit of towards the end of the preseason with the starters. Brett Veach, their GM, has already come out and said that Justin Ross and Rashee Rice will start the season as rotational players. So they're not in play for me, right, in season long. Okay. So I have Sky as my wide receiver 39 on the week. Okay, that's pretty high, from where he's being drafted. And that would make him a flex play on Thursday night, and with a little bit of upside if Kelce can't play. The other guys, the sneaky guy, and I know that people talk about Noah Gray, and that's fine. And we'll talk about that in a second. But like the other guy, I think who's going to benefit here is Jerick McKinnon, right? Like if Kelce's out, his role doesn't change. I really don't trust Isaiah Pacheco, right? Given the usage that CH had in the preseason, can he return, to be the back that he was like late in the year after CH's injury, kind of paved the way for him to kind of take over that role, maybe, right? But I was already low on Pacheco going into the year. And then Jerick McKinnon now, he's the clear third down back, the clear passing down back now, right? His role doesn't change at all. So I actually think he's a little bit of a flex now in PPR on Thursday night if Kelce can't play, because who else is Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball to? You got Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney on limited snaps. I think Jerick McKinnon's up next, dude.
He's got to be, pretty much. I mean, if you remember that stretch of games last year where he was just scoring all those touchdowns, he wasn't he was catching passes out of the backfield, but he was catching passes downfield too. He had a couple long touchdowns. So it's like Jerick McKinnon's been in this offense. He knows how it works. He's familiar. Patrick Mahomes is familiar with him. I think you're 100% right when you lay out the receivers here in Kansas City. Like, it's going to be Sky Moore, and then who else? I don't trust Kadarius Toney either. I don't think that he's going to have enough snaps to be relevant. Could he score a touchdown? Maybe. Could he have a touchdown like he had in the Super Bowl where it's just like a quick in and out at the goal line? Maybe. But if you want to talk about consistent work, like you just mentioned, there's two players who could get that in the receiving game at least, and that's Sky Moore and Jerick McKinnon. So I agree, Jerick McKinnon is suddenly a flex play now. If Travis Kelce were playing, I mean, we're talking about Travis Kelce being the guy, and Sky Moore being potential play. I would still have, I think, Sky Moore over Kadarius Toney, even if Travis Kelce played, but I'm not expecting Kelce to play. So I agree with everything that you laid out.
Now, if you have Kelce and he doesn't suit up, right? Like, yes, like his backup Noah Gray is an option, but you don't necessarily have to make that decision on Thursday night, right? Like maybe your opponent has some Thursday night players, maybe they shit the bed, and now you have a more informed decision. And like, do you really want to drop one of your like key bench players that you want to stash? You know that you really and you don't really want to pick up another tight end, right? When you know Kelce
Right.
will probably play next week, right? Like if you think you still can beat your opponent this week, like maybe you wait until Sunday, right? See how that plays out. And then you might not even have to pick up a tight end. And if you do, then maybe you pick up Jake Ferguson for Sunday night, right? Or you
Yep.
pick up Tyler Conklin for Monday night, right? Like if you
There's been
don't
a
want to
little
wait,
buzz around him.
Tyler Conklin, right?
Yes.
Apparently Aaron Rodgers likes him. So we'll see how that works out. Now, there's other guys in the waiver wire. If you don't want to wait or anything like that, you want to just like put your best foot forward. Jawan Johnson, Luke Musgrave, those would be some top two options. We mentioned, I don't even know if we mentioned, but Christian Watson, he was not practicing today because of a hamstring injury. Okay. Same thing with his boy, Romeo Dubs, hamstring injury, didn't practice today. I don't know how serious Christian Watson's is. We know that Dubs already had that hamstring injury. That's why he missed the last preseason game. But Watson, this is something new that we just found out about today. We'll see if that's serious. We'll see if he practices tomorrow. But if he doesn't, Luke Musgrave becomes a lot more interesting, right?
Yeah.
You got Gerald Everett. I mentioned Jake Ferguson, Hunter Henry, Hayden Hurst, Noah Fant. A few guys you can pick up. But why pick up those guys? We can just wait on guys like Jake Ferguson and Tyler Conklin, right?
Yeah.
Now, I think Noah Gray's solid, but who knows what kind of rap participation he's going to get with Kelce missing time. Like, we just don't have that data. We don't have the sample size. I think he's a pretty good tight end when given opportunity. We just don't know how much of him we'll actually see.
Yeah. There's no reason to go 1-for-1, I think, with Travis Kelce and Noah Gray. It's not like you're going to plug in Noah Gray and get anything close. You have a much better chance of getting production closer to what Travis Kelce would have given you going away from Noah Gray. That's what I will say. Because the talent isn't there, just like Travis Kelce has, but also the opportunity, it's not necessarily going to be tailored towards him. Like Travis Kelce, he's not going to fill Noah Gray a Travis Kelce size hole. And no one's expecting him to. Patrick Mahomes isn't expecting him to. He's going to go other places with the ball. So I think if you're looking to replace Travis Kelce, Jake Ferguson's one of the guys that I was going to talk about when we got to that game because he's got a pretty good matchup.
Well, we're not getting to that game, so why don't you talk about him right now?
All right, I'll just go. Let's go. We're all over the place on this podcast. It's awesome. But anyway, yeah, I think he's worth a look against the Giants. He's going to be matching up against pretty much nobody's in the middle of the field on the Giants. You look at Brandon Cooks, he's going to be dealing with Adoree Jackson on the outside. CeeDee Lamb's going to be blowing things up from the slot. I mean, who's going to be realistically covering Jake Ferguson? We know Dak Prescott loves his tight ends. The fact that Jake Ferguson's going undrafted in some drafts, you could get him on the waivers. He's super undervalued right now. And I was a Luke Schoonmaker guy early in the offseason. I mean, that was way long ago. But you've been on Jake Ferguson a while this whole time. I think you look at this, it's a relatively high-scoring game. I think it's the fourth highest implied total. The Cowboys have played very well against the Giants in the past 5-6 years with Dak Prescott at quarterback. So if you want to stream somebody to replace Travis Kelce, I think Jake Ferguson is your guy, 100%.
The Giants have been getting a lot of buzz, obviously, this offseason, and rightfully so. I think they're going to be a good team, but I think they're going to have a tough time against the Cowboys week 1. I think they are.
I do too.
Honestly.
I mean, I could talk about that for a while.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can,
yes.
Zach. Now, going back to the Chiefs-Lions game real quick, like I do have, you mentioned Jimmy Gibbs. I do have him as a top 10 running back this week, right?
Yep.
So I think David Montgomery is a great play as well. Chris Jones probably isn't playing, okay, because of the contract dispute. Okay, so I have Montgomery as a low-end RB2 this week. This matchup becomes way easier with Chris Jones off the field. Okay,
Yeah.
so both these guys are going to do their thing. I have him as a low end RB2. Is Montgomery somebody like you think that has to be in your lineup for this matchup?
No, I don't think this. I don't think Montgomery's a priority play like Jahmyr Gibbs would be. I think Montgomery's a perfectly fine play. Like if you have nobody else at running back, if you need him as an RB2, I think you can get away with it. He's going to be a low end RB2 if anything. But ideally, like I don't even like starting him at flex because I like using upside players in my flex. David Montgomery isn't that. So for me, I think he's not really a priority play for me. Jahmyr Gibbs is the play. I don't want to completely write him off, but you'd have to be pretty thin. At least I would have to be pretty thin at running back to throw him in over other running backs that you might have on your roster already. Hopefully you drafted
David
him as
Montgomery, David Montgomery or Cam Akers this week?
I think I would go with Montgomery just
Me too.
because I think the Seahawks are going to run away from the Rams, and there's not going to be a reason for the Rams to be handing the ball off a lot, and that's where Cam Akers is going
Montgomery
to get most of his
or
work.
Kenneth Walker?
I think I would go with Kenneth Walker.
Montgomery or Dameon Pierce?
Pierce, and that one isn't close because I think Pierce is going to be the guy for the Texans, even though Devin Singletary's there.
Montgomery or Raheem Mostert?
Okay, there I think I'm going to go with Montgomery. I don't know how much I trust Raheem Mostert. I think it's going to be a shootout between Dolphins and Chargers. It's going to be pass first type of game script. I don't think there's going to be that much usage for Raheem Mostert unless he rips off one for a long touchdown. I could see like 13 carries for 40 some yards from him. So I think Dave Montgomery has a much better potential than Raheem Mostert this week.
I'm going Mostert.
Interesting.
Colonel Mustard is going off this week.
All right.
I have Jared Goff as my QB12 this week, so he's definitely in the cards to be startable, especially in a game where the Lions could be chasing points, right? 4.5 point underdogs in this one. I think they are. Yeah, they were 6-point underdogs. Now they're 4.5-point underdogs. I think Amon-Ra's going to feast. I have him as a top 5 wide receiver this week. So, you got Gibbs, you got him. Sam Laporta has a chance of making an impact week 1. We'll see how involved he is to start off his career on prime time. I do think Laporta is a solid replacement if you happen to have him and Kelsey cannot go. Okay. I do like Laporta more than a lot of the options that I mentioned earlier. He's not available on most waiver wires. That's why I didn't mention him. But apparently he's an option for a lot of people because I had a ton of Laporta questions for people who had Travis Kelsey. If I drafted Kelsey personally, I would not have had any of these guys. I wouldn't have Kincaid. I wouldn't have Laporta. I wouldn't have had any unless they fell really far in the draft where they're the best players available. But in most leagues, competitive leagues, they're not available.
That's the problem that Travis Kelsey managers have is that they've never been in this situation before. If I'm not mistaken, he hasn't missed a game to injury since 2013. So it's like this is uncharted territory because usually you just draft Travis Kelsey and that's it for the season. You don't even have to worry about it. So they're getting hit early this season.
By the way, guys, you can catch my rankings on patreon.com/upperhandfantasy. The rankings are up there for this week 1 already. Positional, flex, super flex. It's all there. It's up on spreadsheets right now, okay, because we're doing a website. We're basically revamping our entire website. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be so good. I cannot wait. So that domain transfer is literally happening right now. So, but everything you need is all up on Patreon on the website itself. So you can go to patreon.com/upperhandfantasy. If you need start sit advice or waiver wire advice with me personally, you have some options available on as well. Okay, so something you might want to take advantage of going into week 1. Let's talk about the other matchup that we really like, Zach. Dolphins Chargers. Yeah. No Jeff Wilson. Okay, this is going to be a passing bonanza, I think. Second highest game total of the week at 51 points. Could be the highest point total, given that Travis Kelsey's not playing. I think that makes a difference. A couple points, right? Yeah. Chargers at home favored by 3, which basically means it's a pick 'em. Okay. The Chargers will likely have one of the most pass-heavy offenses and fastest offenses in the NFL this year.
Yep.
So the overall pace of this game is going to be there. Okay. This is, this one will be a pass-first game script throughout. Okay. Miami also passes the ball a decent amount over expectation. Okay. So just like this is like the perfect offensive matchup. This is what you want to see. Now, we had this matchup late last year. it wasn't as didn't have the fireworks, but this is after the whole Tua thing, and you know, this is a little bit different. Okay. Um,
Yeah.
so, one thing I want to say is that if I have a player between this game and another game, and I'm trying to decide between these two players, potentially the other one in a low scoring game, like pick the player in this game, right? For example, I think Mike Williams, is on the fringe of a lot of lineups in week one, right? And I think he should be in lineups simply because number one, this game is going to have a lot of scoring. Okay. So the way and the way that he's being used this year is different. He's playing in the slot more routes from the slot, more easy targets, but he's also going to be used downfield. Okay, that's the fact that he's playing the slot more. That's going to allow him to avoid Xavier Howard all game long. Okay, so there are things to like here for Mike Williams, right?
Right.
You have Keenan Allen, obviously. You have Austin Eckler. You're going to play these guys no matter what. I think Mike is a solid wide receiver 3 with upside. He could have a wide receiver 1 finish at any point. You're starting Justin Herbert. You're starting Tua. I think Tua's the top
Yeah.
10 fantasy quarterback, right? Like pretty much. I have him
100%.
as a QB8 on the week. Let me ask you a question, Zach. Are you playing Tua over Trevor Lawrence this week? He's going up against the Colts.
I'm tempted to, but I think Trevor Lawrence, if he takes the next step, I'm excited to see Calvin Ridley play. I think I would go with Trevor Lawrence. I think it would go
I
7
like
and
it.
8. I think it would
That's
go
exactly
7 and
what I'm
8
going to do. Yeah.
because
Yeah, I think so.
I love Tua too. Like I've talked about it a little bit. If you read the newsletter, I put one out yesterday about Tua having top 5 upside. But I think Tua can be great. But for this week, I mean, the matchup is too perfect for Trevor Lawrence right now. So I'd put him over Tua. But I love Tua also.
The Colts have nobody at a corner right now. It's really bad
Yeah.
over there.
They have
So,
nobody.
but both these quarterbacks are good plays. They both should be in lineups this week.
Yeah. If you read the depth chart on the Colts at the corner, like you're not going to recognize like
It's bad.
4 out of the 6 names. And the top 2 guys, you're like, you've heard of them, but you couldn't identify them on field. Like that's the situation you're going into. And it's just going to be lambs to the slaughter. They're going to run into a freaking meat grinder. The Jaguars are. Not the Colts are going to run into the Jaguars, I should say. But yeah, 100%. It's close, but I would go Trevor Lawrence.
Now, I know everyone's starting Calvin Ridley. Okay, likely based on where you drafted him, but the dude is going to eat there. Eat on Sunday, dude. He's going to eat. Like week 1, he's back. He's hungry. Like he wants to prove all the haters wrong. Julius Brent, Dallas Flowers, Daryl Baker
Flowers
on the outside with Kenny Moore in the slot. Okay, Kirk is going to have his hands full with Moore. I still start Kirk
I
as
like Kenny Moore.
wide
He's
receiver
good.
3, but really has such a good matchup on the perimeter, dude. Like there's an undrafted second-year player and a rookie corner who really is going to be going up against a lot of this game. Okay, it's going to be a long day for these guys.
Oh yeah.
And if you're in a deep league, Zay Jones. Okay, don't be surprised if he has a good game too, because he's on the perimeter as well. One thing that changed between last year and this year, by the way, is that Christian Kirk is not on the field in 2 wide receiver sets. Okay, that's Ridley and Zay. Kirk is basically exclusive to the slot at this point. When in 11 personnel, in 3 wide receiver sets. Based on what we saw this preseason. But man, I'm excited to see the Jaguars play. We could see that big game in week 1 from Trevor Lawrence. So I'm excited. I know we're going all over the place. That's the theme of this episode, basically.
Yes.
But take it where you want to, bro. Do you want to talk about this Miami game at all anymore? Was there any other points you want to make there?
I just have a question for you. If we've been playing a little bit of this or that, this episode.
Yeah, for sure.
You said you would like to target if you had to pick between like players at similar rankings, you would pick the ones in the Chargers Dolphins games.
Yes.
Mike Williams or DJ Moore. Who would you pick?
That's a really good one. Like I actually like DJ Moore this week. Joe Barry, he's back as defensive coordinator for the Packers, right? Jair Alexander didn't shadow much last year. He basically stuck to his side for the most part, and they're going to move DJ Moore around, right? Green Bay gave up the 6th most fantasy points to perimeter wide receivers last year. So if you're wondering whether to start DJ Moore, I think you can at home. He's at home in Chicago against the Packers. Okay, so I think this is a spot where I'm kind of happy. If I did draft DJ Moore, whether I'm happy about it or not, at least I know in week 1 he's in a good spot. Now, back to your question. It's tough because DJ Moore is the
It is
one
tough.
in Chicago in a good matchup. Um, he's going to get some carries. I think I'm still going with Mike, man. I think I'm still going with Mike, but it's super. No. Yeah, I think I'm still going with Mike. No. Let me see where I rank them. That's such a good. That's a good one, man. That's a really good one. Like off the top of my head, like I did the projections, but let's see where I have these
Right.
guys.
Now, I'm while you're finding that quick,
Yeah, I
I'm
want
just
to know
gonna
your answer.
my answer. I think I'll go with Mike Williams, and
Okay.
I know I've been the Mike Williams, a non-Mike Williams guy. I'm the Keenan Allen truther, not the Mike Williams guy. I've called Mike Williams a bust for this season, but you look at this matchup against the Dolphins, I think it's going to actually have the fireworks that we missed last year. Mike
Yeah.
Williams, like he's moving around. Like if that's true, and he isn't facing the top corner all the time, which is Xavier Howard right now, he can have, if he gets 10, 11 targets, there's no way he doesn't come down with 5 or 6 of them, 7, 8 even, just somewhere in there. And he's going to hit 100 yards if he catches 6 balls. So I think he's a much safer play. The passing volume, even if it goes up significantly from last year with the Bears, it's just not going to be that much. And I don't think there's going to be a super high scoring game between the Bears and the Packers. So I would go with Mike Williams.
I have Mike Williams at 29 and DJ Moore at 25 for the week. So it looks like I'm going DJ Moore. That's the
Okay.
answer. My heart was saying Mike Williams, but I guess my brain earlier this week said DJ Moore. So I'm going to stick with my brain.
There's a reason. We'll go into that. We'll find it.
There's something there. Something. I don't know what it is, but it's something.
That's crazy because that is pretty close. I came up with it and I said it. I was like, whoa, I might be cornering him here.
No, I think that was a great question. I think I am starting him over guys like Jordan Addison. Okay, I'm starting him over guys like Brandon Ayuk, even. Okay, which could be controversial. I'm starting over Chris Godwin. All right, Christian Kirk. A few of those guys. Now he's close with guys like Terry McLaurin, who's a little bit banged up. So I can see if you're shooting for upside, maybe Mike is the way to go. But I like Terry's upside as well this week. So, I do like it. I do like that. I do like that question a lot.
Steelers 49ers game could be a slugfest.
So I don't know what's going to happen in that game, man. That's going to be an interesting one to me. The 49ers come out pretty flat usually week 1.
Yeah.
So
we'll
see what ends up happening
in 2022.
Yeah, and
granted, that was a monsoon.
They're playing in Pittsburgh, right? So it's going to be interesting. Now, there were a few matchups that I wanted to talk about. We talked about a few of them already. One of the ones that what I wanted to talk about was the Browns and Deshaun Watson. We're going to get to see him, with Amari Cooper, with Elijah Moore, with David Njoku, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Good offensive line. Nick Chubb. Is he going to take the next step? Is he going to take that step that we wanted him to take? Basically, it's not even a step forward. It's kind of like a step back to who he was.
Yes.
That's what we want to see, right? And Elijah Moore was standing out to me a little bit when I was looking at these matchups. He's going to see a lot of Mike Hilton out of the slot. He's a great he's a great nickel corner, when it comes to being versatile, defending the run, that sort of thing. But in coverage, a little bit of a vulnerability, okay?
Yeah.
And the slot was particularly vulnerable to fantasy points last year, especially towards the end of the season. They gave up the second most fantasy points to slot wide receivers over the last 8 weeks of the season. So, with all the hype around Elijah Moore and the alleged connection between him and Deshaun brewing, and by the way, we did see it in preseason. Okay, beat reporters have been raving about it, throughout camp. So there's something there, right? And I can see this connection showing, what it's going to be all about in week 1. Do you think there's any chance that Elijah Moore's target share can be somewhat near Amari Cooper's, number 1? And then number 2, the point, a couple of beat reporters have said something interesting, which is that Elijah Moore could be used in a Deebo Samuel type of role. So just want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, so I think that the target share can be similar. Like, I don't think it's going to be a stratosphere where Amari Cooper's up at like 24, 25, 26, and then all of a sudden Elijah Moore's down at like 17. I think we're looking at it could be a 22 for Cooper and a 19 or 20 for Elijah Moore. And I think
So
those
is
numbers,
this like a similar thing to Ayuk and Debo?
it's similar. So you're drawing this comparison, and it's like just putting itself together. It's hilarious. But I think Elijah Moore, he's going to be used the way that we wanted him to be used, in New York. And I know you're an Elijah Moore guy. You liked him even when he left. It's not like we don't see the talent or
I
anything.
loved him. I loved him when he was coming out of school. He was one of my favorite receivers coming out.
Yep.
I was super pumped that the Jets drafted him. So we were going into day 2 of the NFL draft. So
Yep.
Elijah Moore was up there at the top of the board, near the top of the board. We had an early pick, and going into day 2, I'm just like, hey, I'm hoping the Jets draft Elijah Moore, and they did.
Yeah.
So, but it didn't work out.
He has the target earning profile to do that. And if Deshaun Watson's clicking with him, I mean, like Deshaun Watson didn't click so much with Amari Cooper, but I'm at the end of last year, but I'm going to give him a mulligan because it was coming off of a long time away from
Yeah.
football. We
And it was
expected
a
him to look rusty.
small sample size too, right? 6 games
Yeah.
compared to the big sample size that we had before that, right?
Yeah, 100%. And
Um,
so
yeah.
Elijah Moore, the target shares could be similar. Debo Samuel role, I'm not sure I'm super excited about that because like it seems like that's code for we don't really know how to use him, but we're going to use him somehow. I want him to get more work in the receiving game. I don't want it to be a 50-50 split between running and getting targets because if that's the case, then if it's 50-50, he's not going to be running the ball that much. They have Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
Then that means he's only getting 4 or 5 targets a game, 6 maybe. Like I want him to have a legit role in the receiving game. He can do that. I think there's a spot for him to do that. If they put him in the slot, excellent. That's what we want to see.
I think if he gets 5 to 6 targets, let's say he gets 6 targets a game, and he also gets 3 to 4 carries a game, I'll take it. I'll take it. I think that is a good enough role there where he could be a wide receiver 3. There is
That's
room
not
for
what we
upside.
want, though. Yeah.
No.
Like,
I'm just saying I'll take it. You know what I'm saying?
mhm.
Of course, I'll take more, right? Like, and I think there is room for more. We saw what he did his rookie season, right? The upside was
Yes.
massive, right? That second half of the year was absolutely insane. Okay. So it's you look at that and you're like, all right, well, he has the pedigree, he has the ability to do it. He's a second round receiver, needed a new start. So I'm interested to see what he can do, in this good matchup in week 1.
Yeah. It'll be high scoring, but for me, it's just like the way I personally drafted Elijah Moore was not to be satisfied with how he's being used. Like that's okay. Like I drafted him for the upside. I drafted him with the purpose for the upside that he could get 80, 90 targets, be a true wide receiver too. Because I think at the end of the day, he's a better receiver than Donovan Peoples-Jones. He's more versatile, and he deserves to be the wide receiver too. I think he deserves to be the second target in this offense. Based off of what we've seen so far, it remains to be seen how he plays with the Browns. But if Deshaun Watson's connecting with him, I think there's a good chance that he can do that, and that's what my expectations are raised because of what we've heard this offseason.
There are a few wide receivers who have some tough matchups this week. I'll touch on a few of them. Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis against Sauce and DJ Reed. It's a tough matchup, right? I have Stephon Diggs in my top 10 still, but he is my wide receiver 10 on the week. Really, really low. Okay.
For Stephon Diggs,
but it's just I like a lot of other wide receivers matchups this week, and I don't love his. I think he can still get it done. I can see him getting like 65 yards and a touchdown this week. I can see that on Monday night.
Yep.
I'll be at the game. Under the influence for damn sure in that Jets game. Jets home opener. You kidding me?
You're kidding me? Wearing their legacy whites. It's gonna be sweet.
Oh man, it's gonna be so nice, so nice. In that same game, Garrett Wilson also. He's probably gonna be shadowed by Tre'Davious White. I don't care. I'm not fading Wilson around a ton. He's gonna be lining up all over the place. White hardly went into the slot last year. Okay, Devontae Adams could get shadowed by Patrick Surtain as well. That's another situation. We saw Devontae have this matchup last year. He totally sauced that dude. I don't know if that's how you're supposed to say it, but That's I heard one young kid say it, and I'm running with it. He sauced them. Uh, DeAndre Hopkins, he might be shadowed by Marshawn Lattimore. This one is an interesting one to me. I'm curious to see how this one's going to play out. I think Hopkins is still going to be fine. The thing with Hopkins is that he's always played in an offense that is peppering him regardless.
Yeah.
Does Ryan Tannehill do that? That's the question. So, don't have him ranked too high. Let's see where I have Hopkins ranked here. I have him at 22, so I feel like I'm fairly confident in DeAndre Hopkins. No, actually, I have a note here to move him down.
Yeah, no, I don't think that the Titans are a pepper your top receiver environment. Just the way that they're going to be running the offense. Ryan Tannehill has never been one to just key in on a guy. So I'm not trusting DeAndre Hopkins to be like this top performer, especially in a relatively tough matchup. That I would say that's why I drafted Treylon Burks, just to justify it in that draft that we were talking about earlier. But I'm not going to try and justify that. That was just tough. It didn't go how I wanted it to.
I'm not avoiding DeAndre Hopkins at all this week or anything like that, but
No,
I'm playing him as like a low end wide receiver too. That's kind of how I'm playing it.
mm-hmm. And tempering expectations, I think, would be a good way to go about it. Yeah,
I think I have a frog in my throat.
I think
Can't
so.
talk. But guys, I think that's going to do it for this episode. We appreciate you guys listening to us. We'll be back on Sunday. I'll be going live, by the way, on Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern time, and I'll be going live for about 90 minutes on Instagram Live, so you can catch me there with all your questions. You can catch me on Instagram. Comment on the post within the first 10 minutes. I'll answer your question. Okay, so that's it. Whatever it is. Patreon.com/upperhandfantasy is where I have all my rankings. And go check out Underdog. Underdog, you can do the NFL season pick'ems. They're if you're listening or watching this before Thursday night, you can put in some pick'ems for the year. You can 20x your money. Okay, and if you use the code Upper Hand, you get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Not only that, guys. Not only that. This entire season, Underdog is offering a mystery pick'em for free, a free square for every single new user. Okay, every single week. This week it happens to be Patrick Mahomes. All he needs is 1 yard. So you can actually combine Patrick Mahomes' 1 yard on Thursday night with NFL season pick'ems. So let's say you think Saquon's going to go over 950 rushing yards this year. You choose Saquon over 950. You choose Patrick Mahomes over 1 yard on Monday night, over 0.5 yards, I should say, on Monday night. And then maybe you combine it with another one. Okay, you can 6x your money if you do that. You choose 4, you can 10x, and if you choose 5, you can 20x. Okay, so just wanted to kind of let you guys know that you can combine these pick'ems however you want. But Thursday night, you can choose those pick'ems as well. This is your last opportunity to do best ball drafts as well, guys. All right, so we're getting close. Okay, so appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back on Monday morning with the 6 episodes per week. That's what we're starting that. I'm getting nervous already thinking about it, but we will do it. We're gonna do it. I can't wait. All right, guys, take it easy. See you later. Bye bye.